Um, One of the reasons people could believe in the elixirs of immortality was also because of the status of alchemy. And let me switch now to the question of alchemy as one of the strands of aristocratic culture. So we often use the terms, later terms, of inner and outer alchemy. Inner alchemy is things you do within the body, through diet, through moving the qi through the body. The kind of alchemy I'm interested in today is the kind of alchemy that takes base metals and turns them into gold. Not, however, to get rich, but to create an elixir that gives you immortality. Now, to give you some background on this, the belief was that gold represents a mineral in which the balance of yin and yang is so perfect that it's fixed and will not change. Let me talk now about the theoretical foundations for alchemy. The view was that natural things are made up of qi. Qi exists as something that's changing and movable. It exists in cycles of change and transformation, and smaller cycles are caught up within larger cycles. We can, for example, and they pointed out at the time, we can see that minerals grow and they change. And the belief was that certain minerals would ultimately, over a long period of time, change and transform into gold. After, in fact, 4,320 years, a very long time to wait. But gold represented a state, a mineral state, in which there was perfect balance between yin and yang. In contrast to silver or to copper, both valuable metals, gold did not change, it did not tarnish, it developed no patina, it was constant. They understood that people can interfere through smelting, for example, through metallurgy, in the cycles of development of minerals and metals. And they believed that since, for example, with the theory of the 5 phases of change, that within a given state in the cycle of change of a mineral must be inherent the next state. And so they began to say, we could speed up the process of transformation so that the series of developments that would lead from the base metals to gold would happen much more quickly. In fact, we could make it happen within a single year. Chinese alchemists demonstrated their ability by changing mercury into cinnabar and cinnabar back into mercury, showing that you could change metals in this way. Why 4,320 years? Because there were 360 days in the year. Every day was composed of 12 hours. The Chinese hour was 2 hours. So 1 hour, 1 Chinese hour, would equal 1 year, and thus within 1 of our years, a solar year, you would reach the whole cycle that turned things into gold. So in this sense, alchemy is a kind of an intellectual pursuit. It replicates the Tao of nature's cycles, but it also gives man control over those cycles. If the alchemist can control the development of metals, the cycle of change, then presumably he can also create an elixir that can help the human body achieve that moment of perfect balance between yin and yang so that it becomes immortal as well. Elixirs are food for the immortals. It's often said that people who take elixirs aren't alchemists, and alchemists don't take elixirs. There's some truth to this, but probably because creating elixirs was very expensive. Only the rich could afford it. There's a long tradition of seeking immortality in China. We find the first emperor of Qin sending expeditions out to find the immortals and find their secrets. And we find emperors much later in history taking elixirs of immortality as well, and sometimes dying as a result. But the intellectual contemplation of this process, where the furnace represents the womb, where the control over heat represents the ability to change the cycles of yin and yang, where the 5 phases of change are renewed and controlled in various ways. All this is the human being looking at the processes of the universe and thinking that he now can actually replicate them perfectly and control them. And that's, I think, where alchemists find an audience. Among people who want to believe that we, in fact, can see, we can understand the real patterns of change in the natural world. Now, Alchemists ultimately, I think we would agree, despite the fact that people kept taking elixirs, alchemists and the people who developed elixirs of immortality did not create immortals, as far as we know.